Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. I have a lot of different subjects I want to cover in this video, so I'm just going to kind of free flow with it all. But we're living at such an interesting and very divisive time, not just in our nation's history, but really in the history of the world. But focusing on America, you're just seeing so much division right now, and many of us over the last few years have made videos about these subjects, about how the mainstream media seems to want to create some form of a race war. And beyond a race war, they're basically putting us all into different categories. They're putting us all into these little camps, and then they're turning all these small groups against each other. Gay versus straight, black versus white, America versus the Mexicans or the immigrants, men versus women, women versus men, this third wave feminism. The one thing this system hates is anything original or unique that can stand alone. So they try to put us all into camps, as I said, and they turn all of these little camps against each other. And we see this constantly. And it really is ripping not only America, but the world apart at the seams. So I don't watch the news for news, I watch the news for what kind of narrative they're putting out. Because news nowadays is all agenda driven, and it's run by literally a handful of corporations. And the people that run these corporations are part of secret societies. These are the people that attend the Bilderberg meetings every year, or the Bohemian Grove, and they have dark agendas. So it's interesting when looking at what's happening in the world, and in this case, American society. George Orwell's 1984 is making a big comeback. Right after the elections and around the very beginning of this year, I started hearing about this. George Orwell's 1984 is suddenly a bestseller. So in June of this year, they continued the narrative. They actually created a stage play of 1984, and they're saying that audiences that are watching this graphic portrayal of 1984 are fainting and vomiting. Now, the reason this is even a story to me is when you start reading little quips from some of the actors themselves or some of the creators of this 1984 play, you see how they're trying to tie this into the Trump presidency. So I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm definitely happier with Trump in there than I would have been with Clinton. But there's something much bigger taking place right here. I mean, there is no longer really a Republican Party. That's one thing that Trump has shown us. It's completely dissolved. These people are weak-willed. They can't pull together to pass anything. And that's one area you have to give to the fascist liberals that are really in control, especially the mainstream media these days. The fascist, extreme left liberals, they can pull together and get anything done. I mean, these people are vicious. And they took the rule books and threw them right out the window. I mean, they are going for the jugular. But they get stuff done. They're so effective that we've literally seen the dissolution of the Republican Party. There's just nothing left. That's one thing the Trump presidency has really shown us. And it's sad because on the right is where you used to find more conservative minds, or more spiritually led type people. Not that these people were perfect, but many of them were very spiritual or religious, and they were letting that spirit guide them in their decisions. But not so much anymore. But on a bigger picture, what you're seeing here is the end of the right. The end of the conservatives, and by extension of that, even an end to the Christian voices in politics and government. I mean, this started a long time ago, but we're really seeing it manifest right now. So of course the mainstream narrative is that anybody to the right of the left, is a character from this 1984 government system. They're evil, they're fascist, they're Big Brother, right? So remember, before you get mad and start writing at me, oh, I didn't know you were a Trump supporter and all this, listen to me, what I'm saying. This is beyond Trump. Okay? This is an idea I'm talking about. And it's growing. Because we know eventually there's going to be massive Christian persecution in this country. This is prophecy we're talking about here. So how do we get there? How do we get from the statues to the churches? They have to demonize any voices out there that are to the right of the left. They want everything to be this fascist, leftist, social justice warrior type mentality. So isn't it ironic that in June they start up this Broadway play of 1984, really targeting Trump, or anybody, again, to the right of the left. And they come out with another stage play that depicts the assassination of Trump. So here's an image from that play, and of course they're calling it Julius Caesar, but as you can see, that's a Trump-like character up on stage, and he gets stabbed to death in the end. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. So you know we often cover symbolism here on the channel. If you look to the right there on that image, you'll see the all-seeing eye of the beast system, or the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, with Caesar above and Caesar below. So you have your as above, so below symbolism with the all-seeing eye of the beast. And that is the spirit that runs this entire production. Whether the people in the know understand that or not, that's what's taking place. This is a narrative, not just a political narrative, but also a spiritual narrative that's playing out. So we've all seen these stories about them removing statues. They're removing a lot of our history through these statues. And this plays right in once again to the whole race war narrative. It also plays right into the idea of 1984, the book itself. If you don't like something, remove it. Don't let the public think for themselves and decipher these things themselves. Just get rid of it altogether. And you may agree with some of this at first, but remember, this is a very dangerous animal we're letting loose. And once you agree with some of it, well, eventually they're going to start coming for things that you don't want to be taken down. You know, once we relinquish our rights on one thing, well, eventually they'll come for the rest. And for the record, I fully understand that, this isn't the first time in history that people tore down a statue. This has been going on in America for a really long time. Just 5 days after they ratified the Declaration of Independence in 1776, soldiers and civilians got together and they tore down a statue of King George III that was in Manhattan at the time. And then, of course, in 2003, you probably remember that big statue of Saddam Hussein being toppled. In 2011, in Egypt, this happened. That's President Mubarak. In 91, they removed a big statue of Lenin. And now, of course, here in America, it's not just the statues, but over the last few years, it's been the Confederate flags. Which brings us to now. This is from the New York Times. Confederate monuments are coming down across the United States. Here's a list. Let's take a look at that map. So this isn't just in one or two places. This really is nationwide. So, of course, all this talk of the Confederate monuments and the flag, to me, this is all race baiting, and the media loves it, and they push this all the time. And it's crazy when you watch the news, you'll just see all these people rioting and protesting non-stop, racial division, but you look outside your window at your neighbors and the neighborhood, and everything's going just fine. Well, that's our reality. But the mainstream has its agenda. And why does all this matter? Well, look back on ISIS, and I covered this a few times in the past as well, how ISIS is literally on a mission to erase our history. So seeing what they're doing with all the statues and the flags and everything else right now, this is just a jump-off point from that. Because as I've talked about in the past, we're in the age of Aquarius. This is the last age of man. This whole world is being prepared for a one-world leader and a one-world government, a one-world system. So they have to erase our history. They have to take a lot of these things out of our mind. So just one more thing about this whole Trump aspect to this narrative, and then I'm going to show you some other things. So remember, when I talk about how the mainstream narrative is demonizing Trump, it's not just Trump as a person. They're not just going after him. It's a bigger idea. Because for better or worse, Trump right now represents most people in America, at least the blue-collar types, I guess you could say the red states, the majority. And he also represents more the Christian ideas than the fascist left did, whether he's aware of this or not. And again, I'm not saying he's this great guy. I don't know him, and for all I know, he's a part of this whole system as well. Who knows? Maybe he's some fantastic actor. I'm not sure. But I'm looking beyond all that stuff again, and I'm looking at what they're really attacking, which is an idea. They want us all to be these fascist, leftist. They want to go beyond socialism into hardcore communism. This is what this system is trying to create, because the system is going to have to be that way for this one world leader to come in and rule everything and all. So I recently watched the first episode of American Horror Story, Election is what it's called. And yes, it's all about the election from 2016 between Trump and Clinton. And I was amazed at what I was seeing. Major programming taking place here. It starts off the night that Trump actually took the presidency. There's two groups of people watching this. So this right here were the liberals. It's an actual lesbian couple surrounded by their friends, nice house, lots of money, and they are completely and totally terrorized by seeing Trump win the presidency. And the other group is this guy right here who is a cult leader, and he runs a cult of killer clowns, of all things, and he celebrates. He's celebrating that Trump wins. He literally says, "F the world," and starts humping his television while Trump's on the screen. Shortly after that, he gets his killer clown posse together, and they start driving around in a little ice cream truck and murdering liberals. And this, of course, harkens back to some of my older videos talking about American Horror Story. The clown cult right here, they're surrounding the seal of Saturn. So we're looking at the Saturnalia cults, satanic cults, and the clowns literally being a manifestation of demonic entities. And again, no surprise, the film franchise The Purge, their last movie was called Election Year, and once again, this is just more of that predictive programming, social engineering, and getting people ready for chaos as Trump becomes president. So all of this is creating a cancer. There's a cancer in our society. There's a cancer in our world. It's even creating a spiritual cancer in individuals. Cancer now more common than getting married or having a first baby. I don't attribute everything to the physical. I look in the spiritual. As I said, this is a physical manifestation of that cancer that's taking place all around the world. Because now we have news stories like this. Children as young as 4 years old finding a safe space at transgender day camps. And here's more cancer for you. We have little girls modeling lingerie in fashion show in China. Evangelical Christian porn star believes God is cool with it. More cancer, and specifically more destruction of Christian values, of real morality. They have to destroy all of that so they can destroy all of Christianity. And don't be fooled, that's definitely high on the agenda of this New World Order. They're making the idea of following Christ's ways more worldly. God in Metal, scenes from a hardcore Christian music festival. This is just a shot of one of the audiences at this Christian music festival, but I couldn't help but notice, look at the two guys over there on the right. The one guy in the second row there has got the pyramids, or the diamonds, more specifically, all over his shirt, so the as above, so below symbolism. He has no clue what he's wearing, I'm sure. And then the guy right here, front to the right there, has got the all-seeing eye symbolism and the, of course, death cult symbolism on his shirt, has no clue what they're wearing. They have no idea that they're wearing these images of this beast system. But this is a Christian rock festival. And here's another image from this Christian rock festival, right? Because it's all about Jesus. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to be some little angel here. I actually am a big fan of music, and not necessarily Christian music. But let's just call this stuff what it is, right? And here's another image from that festival, and this is one of the band's images over there to the left, but die with your tongue out, right? And all this demonic, evil-looking stuff pouring out of this chick's mouth. But it's about Jesus, guys. This is about Jesus. And here's yet another image from this Christian rock festival. Does this look Christian to you at all? I don't think so. This looks like any metal festival I've ever been to in the past, right? But this is a Christian rock band. This guy has blood splattered all over his outfit there, and of course some demonic, evil-looking mask. But this is about Jesus, right? As I said, this is what mainstream Christianity is turning into. It has been for a very long time. And then I see stories like this, and it's just unbelievable to me. You know, I mean, it's always about the children, and really in any society, too. It's always about protecting the little ones, protecting their purity, their innocence. And this world is leaving the children behind. A crazy kindergarten teacher using Ouija Board with their students. I mean, just allowing this stuff into the classroom and in and around these children, contacting demonic spirits. And some of you are going to have a hard time believing that this is real. You can look this up for yourself. It's a company called Pee-wee Pumps, and they're making high heels for babies. Unbelievable. And is it any wonder that we're seeing stories like this right here now? Alarming rise in children hospitalized with suicidal thoughts or actions. That's how we measure or gauge where any society is anywhere throughout history, as far as I'm concerned, is what was going on with the children. This is not a good sign. And it's not just the children, of course, that are affected. There are plenty of adults that are being affected as the system is changing, as it's falling apart. Prozac Nation is now the United States of Xanax. How many people do you personally know that are on some kind of medication? And how many of those people really need that medication? That's the question. It's like people don't know how to handle this darkness and wickedness they're seeing all around them. And now we're seeing stories like this as well. This is from theweek.com, The Rise and Fall of the Christian Bookstore. It really is a fascinating article, but it just goes to show that even the public interest in God or Jesus or Christianity is waning. First the statues, then the churches, right? It makes more sense now. But even right here, this article, now the Vandals are attacking statues of Catholic saints. So once again, we go back to the idea of Trump being not just the man they're attacking, but an idea. Same thing here. You know, I don't follow Catholicism. I don't follow really any organized religion at all. But it's the idea that's being attacked. It's the idea of Christianity. It's the idea of these saints. And we'll be seeing more of this. I believe this is just going to continue to grow. This is a spirit we're up against. So I didn't want to catalog every single story about this, but if you'd like to see this for yourself, and sometimes it helps to see this with your own eyes, your own research, and read these articles, but any search engine out there you can search for, say, religious statues removed, religious statues damaged. You're going to see a lot of stories like this one right here. California Catholic School removes Jesus and Mary statues because they're alienating. And what's even more interesting is if you look into stories like this, Get Ready America, the first public Satanic Temple monument is coming. And of course they put right there, this is fine. And this is from Esquire.com. But the point is, we're seeing more and more of these religious statues coming down or being defaced, and at the same time you've got Satanic Temple and other groups out there like that that are trying to put up the Baphomet, you know, the goat god statues or other satanic type statues all through America. And though they may meet some bit of resistance, it seems the mainstream's cool with this. You know, they're alright with this. You see a lot of stories talking about how it's only fair for the Satanists to be able to put their statues up. First the statues, then the churches. And you see it playing out right here before your very eyes. This is a spirit. It's a spirit that I see growing all around me, even in my real life. I've talked about this before. It's the dividing line between the sheep and the goats, or the wheat and the tares, if you will. And I see the spirit in people more and more. And this is an image of Antifa. These are the left-wing militants out there that are saying they're for peace. Meanwhile, they're beating people up with bats and destroying stores and lighting cars on fire, but they're for peace, right? And this just goes to show how twisted the logic is now in the mainstream narratives out there. So first the statues, then the churches. It's just a matter of time. So I'll leave you with that. Once again, thank you so much for watching my videos. I appreciate you guys. Take care out there and keep your eyes open. Stay aware, alright? And I'll talk to you real soon.